Hi, Mayor Kevin Davis here. I'd like to welcome you to the first show of Behind the Scenes, where we'll literally go behind the scenes talking about issues that are important to our city. So in this opening show, we're going to be talking about the river and water. I mean, there's nothing really more important to our community than the Grand River. We draw our water from it, we treat our water, wastewater, and put it back into the river. And the river sometimes is also a threat to us, especially in the winter. So we're going to talk about all those subjects. First, we're going to take a very interesting tour of what I think is our world-class water treatment plant. I know you're going to be impressed. You'll find it very interesting. Hi, Mayor Davis here. Behind the scenes, we're here at the Holmdel Water Treatment Plant. I'm here with the water treatment plant manager, Blair, and we're going to have a tour through the plant to see how the sparkling water we drink every day is actually treated. I want to say one thing. This is probably the most important facility that we have in the city of Brantford next to our hospital, because if the city cannot provide clean, potable water, people will get sick, and we've seen in Walkerton, people can die. In fact, it's been water treatment, both treating the water and treating sewage, that has doubled life expectancies over the last 150 years. That's just how important this is. And I got to tell you, we have a world-class treatment facility. I think you're really going to enjoy seeing what takes place behind me. This is the very start of our water treatment system. And what are we looking at down here?
So this is the water coming from the Holmdel Canal and travels into our low lift. The low lift station is what pumps water into our active flow process. The water's being aerated, so we remove any large debris or sticks, and also if there's any hydrocarbons like gas or oil on the surface, it'll bubble it away from it.
Bubble it away. And what about that boom out there? There's a boom out there.
So we have a boom out here as well, to, again, another protection. Any gas or oil that comes down in the canal, the boom will absorb it, and it'll turn to a pink color, so we know that there's been any issues.
Right. Now that's pretty rare, is it not?
It is pretty rare, and we do change these on a regular basis. You can see you get some growth of algae, so we make sure that we keep them fresh.
So Blair, we're now on the other side of the boom system. Not very exciting, this shot, but what does it show us?
This is really the start of the treatment process. The water flows underneath the building here and into the low lift station. And from the low lift station, we have some screens in here that screen out any large debris, sticks, fish, turtles, and it goes into our pumps. The pumps then deliver water into our active flow process.
I'm with Aaron, who's a 5-year employee of the city. And I'm in what I think it's called the operations control room. Aaron, what is happening in this room?
So you're correct. This is the operations control room here for the plant. From this room, we can actually monitor most of the processes that go on here at the plant. We can see all the analyzers, see what they're reading. We can make adjustments to our chemicals, as well as control the different pumps.
Right. Now behind us, it looks like there are a number of computer screens behind us, and there's a big one behind us with a number of video feeds. Mm-hmm. What's happening with that particular video?
So that is actually our security monitor. So from that monitor, we can actually see many different angles at this plant, also at the different reservoirs. That way, if there is anything that we just visually need to check on without having to necessarily leave the control room, we could see, as well as just acknowledge any entry at the reservoirs just to see who is actually there.
Because we have reservoirs throughout the city.
Correct.
Right, okay. And then behind us there are some computer screens. Mm-hmm. This first screen, what's being monitored on this screen?
So that is the chemical page. So what we do on that page is we can look at all the chemicals that are being dosed into the water. We can actually...
Like chlorine and
carbon. Like chlorine, and we don't use carbon anymore, but we do use PAC and polymer, and so we can actually check not only how much we're dosing, but we can check the speed of the pumps, we can check the level of the tanks, and really just gives us a good overview of the chemical side of the treatment process.
Right. And then another screen looks like it has pictures of pumps on it. What's that one about?
Yeah, so that's our system overview page. What that will show us is it'll show us all the different pumping stations throughout the city. It'll show us all the different pumps, the ones that are running and the ones that aren't running. It'll tell us the speed of the pumps, how much water they're putting out, just so we can get a better control of the actual pressure and the flows going out into the system.
Right. And then there's another one that has a bunch of different data on it. What's that one showing us?
So we do have our main summary page, and what that one will do is it'll essentially give us a summary of everything going on right from the raw water that we're treating, the chlorine analyzers, the filters, the pumping stations, the reservoir levels. It'll tell us just about everything we need at a quick glance.
Right. So this is actually the heart of the operation.
Yeah, this is where very much the decisions get made and where we, yeah.
Like mission control.
Mission control, yeah.
Mission control. So I'm with Nathan. Nathan, you're a water operator here at the plant. You've worked here over 8 years.
Yes, correct.
Now we're in what is the first stage of the water treatment process. Water's come into this area from the river. And then what happens in this area to the water?
So it got pumped up from the low lift, and now we're here at the ActiFlow. So in the first chamber, we add PAC, and then we mix it with sand, and together they combine with the particles in the river, and then naturally slowly settle out to the bottom.
Right. Yeah, because the water doesn't look very clear because there's lots of particles in the river. Could be dirt, could be sand, earth, all kinds of different particles. Could be pollens. So the idea is in here that's all pulled out of the water.
Yeah, so as you can see, the first chamber is a little more dirtier than the last one because the first chamber is right from the river, and then as we go through the different chambers, they get less and less particles in them before they get to the end.
Right. And so the water in this final chamber looks fairly clear. Could we drink this water?
No, it still needs some further treatment processes.
Okay. And how much water flows through? How long does it take for the water to flow through this stage?
Well, this is what's exciting about this one, is it only takes us about 10 minutes, give or take, on the flow, whereas most plants' conventional treatment would take 2 hours.
So Nathan, we're in what's called the ozone room.
Yes, we are.
What happens in this room?
Well, really cool process, actually. Much like lightning in the sky, that creates ozone. We do that here. So we use oxygen and a large amount of electricity to recreate ozone.
Right. And so what does the ozone do to the water?
Well, you were talking how you had some algae in 82, a really bad algae
Yeah,
smell.
when I came here in the 1980s, there was an algae smell in the water, and when it was really hot in the summer.
Yes, well, that's what this would take out, the taste and odors. That's what it deals with.
All right. So it's an important part of the process, gives us really fresh water that doesn't smell.
Yes, it's one of my favorite processes because it makes the water a lot better to drink.
So I'm with Blair Kingsbury. Blair, you're the manager of the water treatment plant. You've been had that position for 2 years. And right now we're in what is called the filter deck. What happens here?
So the water after the ActiFlow is treated comes into the filters. And the filters is where we remove any fine particles from the water so it can be chlorinated and disinfected.
All right. Now behind us we have this shows a cross section of what's happening here. Can you explain to us what this shows us?
So here's a cross section of our filter. The first layer, about 1.5 meters, it's charcoal. This section of that removes any particles, taste and odors, etc. The next level is about a half a meter of sand, and that polishes the water. Then underneath here is what we call an underdrain. This collects the water at the bottom of the filter. So if we didn't have this, it'd kind of be like a potted plant at your house where the water would just sit at the bottom. The underdrain helps direct the water down into the chlorine contact chamber so it can be disinfected.
So Nathan, we're in, this is right underneath those filter beds that Blair was showing me.
Yes.
So what's happening down in this area?
Well, this is where it contains all the piping to make the filters run, where we collect all the treated water, as well as we collect all the backwash water and the air scour and everything goes through
So
here.
those filter beds, you have to backwash them just like a pool filter.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. And that's where this happens.
Yes, yes, that's where everything takes place here.
And what's happening further down the gallery here?
Well, that's where we disinfect the water with chlorination and UV.
So I'm with Dwayne. Dwayne, you're the superintendent of water treatment operations.
Yes,
You're the big enchilada.
the big enchilada, if you want to call it that, Mayor Davis.
So we're below those filter decks.
Yes.
All right. And I heard earlier from Nathan that there's backwashing that occurs back here behind the camera. What's happening down here?
So down here, after the filters are, the water goes through the filters. It will come down here, it will go through UV, which is another way of disinfecting the water,
Ultraviolet.
ultraviolet.
Right.
And then it goes into what's called a contact chamber. In the contact chambers, there's disinfection added there,
Chlorine.
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 And once the water is disinfected, it ends up at the high lift reservoir, which
And
holds roughly 17.5 million liters of water.
And then the water goes out to the city from that reservoir.
And then the water from that reservoir gets pumped out to the city.
How come these pipes, they're huge? Why are these pipes so big?
Well, the water plant is rated for over 100 megaliters, so the pipes have to be that big. to be able to produce that much water if we ever need it.
So on average, how many megaliters of water runs through here?
In the summertime, it's usually 45 to 50. It's always a little less in the,
So we
winter
still
time.
have lots of capacity here in our plant.
We have a lot of capacity here, yes.
So those boundary lands we brought on from the county, lots of room here to treat the water for those areas of the city.
Yes, and it'll actually be better for the plant to be able to produce more water. So
Excellent. All right. So Dwayne, we're now outside. We've left the water treatment plant. The water that has gone through the UV system, the chlorine system, comes here.
yes,
Right?
so
And
here
what's
is
behind us?
here's the reservoir where all
I
the
don't
water.
see it. I just see a lot of grass.
Well, it's an underground reservoir, and
It looks huge.
it is. It holds over 17 million liters of water, and from this reservoir, it goes over to the pumping station.
All right. And then from that pumping station behind us, it gets pumped out to the city.
It gets pumped out to the city. Yes.
So I'm now with Jim. Jim, what's your position with the city?
I'm the manager of the water distribution wastewater collection system for the city of Brantford.
All right. Now we're in front of what's called the high lift pumping station. So this takes all the treated water from that reservoir that Dwayne was telling me about, and from here the water goes out into the city.
Correct. So there's one feed to our to my left here that goes to the West Brant. There's multiple feeds behind us heading out to different parts of the city that would feed different parts. That would feed 3 reservoirs in the one tower at King George Road.
How about the fire hydrants?
We also all the water supplied to 3,000 hydrants that we
3,000.
maintain on a yearly basis so that it's safe
Right.
for the fire department to use.
Now what about, sometimes people ask me, well, how do we prevent the water from being contaminated out in that distribution system?
So we're regulated by the MECP to do so many tests a week, but we are also out there, the distribution staff, collecting the samples, flushing dead ends, some weekly, some yearly, and all on a scheduled program to make sure the water is safe to drink for all the consumers.
Right. And we can have 100% confidence in our water, can we not?
We can have 100% confidence in our water that it is safe to drink.
So Jim, if a homeowner has a problem with water, what do they do?
We are always on call 24/7, 365 days a year. So if you have a problem with your water in your house, if you see a water main break or any damage to anything to do with the water system, please contact the water department anytime and we will come out to respond to you.
There. And that's 519
759-4150.
50. Plus, you can also contact the customer care center through
Correct.
the website. We've got some great staff that are looking after us here down at the water treatment plant, including Jim, who's taking care of the final end product and taking it from here to our homes. Okay, hope you found that very informative and educational. So, in that video, the tour that I took, I spent a lot of time with our manager, Blair Kingsbury, the manager of the water system. And I want to take a few minutes to talk about Blair. Unfortunately, Blair passed away very unexpectedly about a month ago. It's very tragic. I've got to tell you, I was so impressed by Blair, the time I spent with him. And I know his loss it's been felt deeply across the entire city. You know, Blair was widely known across the city and the operations, and he was known as a very kind and compassionate and respectful leader. I mean, I saw that when I was there with him, watched him as he interacted with his staff. And, you know, very tragic because Blair was extremely dedicated to his job and serving the city. He has left behind a beautiful wife and 2 young children. And, you know, he's made a tremendous contribution to the city of Brantford. And I think he's always going to be remembered as having a legacy of hard work and a desire to work collaboratively with his employees and other managers throughout the city. And in fact, I'm dedicating the video segment that you saw and this entire show in the memory of Blair Kingsbury.